Nemesis is the Greek goddess of revenge and retributive justice, known as Rivalitas in Roman mythology. According to Hesiod, she was one of the daughters that Nyx, the primordial goddess of the night, conceived on her own to continue the dark and destructive lineage of her father, Chaos, grandfather of Nemesis. Other authors, such as Hyginus, do mention Erebus, personification of darkness, and Nyx's husband, as her father. In addition, some minor versions claim that she was the daughter of the titan Oceanus, or even of Zeus, king of the gods. In her most famous myth, Nemesis tried to run away from Zeus, adopting up to 1,000 different forms, the last of them as a goose. The god didn't give up on his efforts and turned himself into a swan. Finally, he succeeded in seducing her in this form. As a result of this union, Nemesis laid an egg and abandoned it, but a shepherd later found it and gave it to Leda, queen of Sparta. She was in charge of protecting it inside a small chest until it hatched. The twins, Casta and Pollux, known as the Dioscuri, and the beautiful Helen of Sparta were born from the egg. Helen would have a leading role in the Trojan War, as she was the reason why the conflict broke out. Some voices therefore interpret that the war was caused by Nemesis through her daughter as revenge for Zeus's rape. However, another widespread version refers to Helena and the Dioscuri as children of Leda herself. It should also be noted a minor version that tells about the union of Nemesis with Tartarus, a primordial deity who personifies the prison of the underworld. They had the Telkines, magical creatures from the island of Rhodes. In other cases, Nemesis always appears as a secondary figure symbolizing divine vengeance. She acts times like the Erinyes by punishing crimes and tormenting wrongdoers, which is why she is also often considered as an abstract entity, a personification of moral respect for law and of human conscience that rejects bad behavior. She used to punish disobedient and unfaithful people. For this reason, she is often mentioned alongside Edos, goddess of shame. Another deity to whom she was linked was Tyche, who personified fortune and used to benefit all the lucky people she touched. Nemesis was thus in charge of balancing the scale by punishing all excesses, whether it be for the happiness of mortals or their pride or hubris. Those who made a lot of money or bragged about their power were ruined by Nemesis, who changed their lives to make them more humble and respectful of the limits set by the cosmos. In this way, Tyche and Nemesis exemplify the ancient Greek conception of the harmony of the universe, in which there was no place for disorder. When human nature escaped this balance, Nemesis' divine punishment fell upon it. An example is Chryses, the king of Lydia, who was excessively happy and proud of his wealth. Nemesis punished him with an expedition against Cyrus, king of Persia, which ended up being his undoing. In this way, Nemesis balanced the scales through her retributive justice. For his part, the young Narcissus rejected the love of the nymph Echo and mocked her. Faced with this behavior, Nemesis punished Narcissus by making him fall in love with himself, which would be his downfall as he ended up drowning, obsessed with the reflection that the water gave him back. The goddess also punished the nymph Nicaea, who had ended the life of Hymen, a shepherd who was in love with her, because the nymph hated love. Through Eros, Nemesis made that Dionysus fixed his attention on Nicaea, so he raped her to punish her crime. At the beginning, Nemesis was usually represented in artistic works in a very similar way to Aphrodite, but her image ended up being consolidated as a serious and a thoughtful woman, with wings and a veil on her head or a crown with stag horns. Her main symbols are the wheel, the scale, the apple tree branch, the sword and the snake. Nemesis was especially revered in cities like Patrae, Cyzicus or Smyrna. In Smyrna, citizens worshipped two different Nemesis, both daughters of Nyx. She was also known as Rhamnusian or goddess from Rhamnos, another key city for her cult, where there was a sculpture of her carried out by Phidias. She was also called Adrastia, derived from Adrastus, the first man who built a sanctuary in honor of the goddess by the river Asopos, or from the Greek verb distrachein, which would refer to the fact that no one could escape from Nemesis. Finally, it should be noted that Romans not only called her Rivalitas, but also identified her with the Latin goddess Invidia, who can be considered the fusion between Nemesis and Thonas, son of Nyx, who personified jealousy and envy. It is It's worth mentioning that today, Nemesis means punishment or revenge, an enemy or rival.